99 cents and 99 cents.
At Motown Silver, you're gonna get your wish. Go wish.
One of hockey's great.
More people prefer to watch the Channel 5 News First Report than any other 6 a.m. news program. If you're not one of them, shouldn't you find out what you're missing?
We had a cloud in the sky yesterday. I think we'll see the same thing today. Right now, it is a...
You're watching Channel 5.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the political fallout from a nasty incident during the presidential campaign. We learned fairly late in the campaign that someone in the State Department had organized a search of Governor Clinton's passport file. There were unsubstantiated accusations from the Republicans about what he'd been doing when he was overseas as a student. Today, the State Department official who caused the search to be made, and we now learn had Ross Perot's file searched as well, has been fired. At the State Department tonight, ABC's John McCarthy.
The scandal got so serious today that the president got involved.
On the recommendation of the acting Secretary of State, the president today accepted the resignation of Betty Tamposi, Assistant Secretary for Consular Affairs, effective immediately. She'll be leaving her office by the end of the day tomorrow.
Betty Tamposi is a political appointee who sent several people from her office to look through Bill Clinton's passport file, his mother's file, and it now turns out the file of Ross Perot. In the case of Clinton, they were looking for any evidence to support campaign rumors that Clinton may have once tried to renounce his citizenship. They never found it. It's not clear what they were looking for in Perot's records.
Rummaging around in Mr. Perot's passport file is clearly illegal under the Privacy Act. It's clearly prohibited.
The disclosure that Perot's file had been searched and that several letters had been removed was made by the Washington Post this morning and was presumably a factor in the president's decision to get rid of Tamposi. Another reason may have been the State Department's Inspector General investigation of all this. A report on that is due out in several days and is expected to ask the Justice Department to consider prosecution. What has not been answered thus far is whether Tamposi dug into all these passport files at her own initiative or if someone higher in the Bush administration asked her to do so. John McCarthy, ABC News, the State Department.
In Little Rock today, the president-elect continues planning the transition. In Washington, a lot of political job seekers who were looking ahead to a new administration were thumbing eagerly through the pages of a new book, which they hope will help them find the plum jobs. Here's ABC's John Martin.
This is how the Congress tells the new administration where to look for jobs. It prints the Plum Book, a list of more than 3,000 high-level political jobs the new president can fill. Everything from Undersecretary for International Affairs in the Treasury Department to the person who runs the Farmers' Home Administration. Another example can be found on the 4th floor of the Interior Department. Behind a door that celebrates 12 years of Republican rule sits William Houston, great-grandson of Sam Houston of Texas. He is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Territorial and International Affairs. He is also a former Navy pilot and a lawyer. Like most political appointees in the Bush administration, he expects to look for a new job in January. Could the new administration get along without filling his $70,000 a year position?
Yes. I think there's probably a lot of positions in the federal government that could be eliminated.
So there may not be a successor to William Houston?
I'm sure there will be. I'm saying that only because it's been 12 years since the Democrats have had a shot at this. And they would be hard-pressed not to fill all the political appointee positions that's available to them today. And that's one of the spoils of victory.
Unlike Mr. Houston, some Bush appointees are leaving now. The Deputy Secretary of Treasury for International Affairs left his desk here last night. This morning, he became an investment banking executive in New York. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
One other note from Capitol Hill this evening, the Senate today chose its leadership for the next 2 years, and the incumbents won. The Democrats will go with George Mitchell again as their leader. That's him at the microphones. The Republicans re-elected Senator Bob Dole of Kansas. In a moment, some of the other news. What has been a common test for heart disease? Should it be so common? On the American agenda tonight, recycled trash. What do you do with it after it is recycled? And finally, one man who is off to a flying start in his new career.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by new Great Grain cereal from Post.
I'll get the cereal, honey. Morning. You'll love this cereal. Where'd you come from? A different time when grains were kept whole for the natural hearty taste. Great grains, toasted wheat, oats, and barley, kept whole. Full of flavor. Pecans, dates, raisins. Enjoy it with the missus. Thanks.
Great. Where'd you get this?
Mind if I tell her?
What was great back then is great grains now. A great cereal from Post.
A short while ago, Carol Walters was troubled with arthritis pain. But she promised Pete they'd go for their run. So she took a Motrin IB, the same medicine as in the Motrin doctors have prescribed for years, but in non-prescription strength. And just one Motrin IB works as well as 2 regular aspirin. So now Carol's ready.
Let's go, Pete.
Pete's been ready for a while. Motrin IB, the relief of Motrin in non-prescription strength.
On the Health Watch tonight, a new report on a sometimes risky procedure called a cardiac angiogram. It is performed on hundreds of thousands of heart patients every year. A report in this week's Journal of the American Medical Association suggests that many of the procedures may not be necessary. Here's our medical editor, Tim Johnson.
About a year ago, Fred Vanderschmidt began to experience chest pain when he exercised. His doctor sent him to a cardiologist.
He suggested that we should have an angiogram and might proceed from that point to do angioplasty.
An angiogram involves pushing a small tube through the arteries into the heart where it releases dye. X-rays can then outline the heart's chambers and the coronary arteries. If blockages are found, doctors often recommend angioplasty, so-called balloon surgery to open the blockage, or bypass surgery. But Fred Vanderschmidt didn't go along with the first cardiologist. Instead, he went to see Dr. Thomas Grayboys, a Harvard cardiologist well known for his conservative approaches to heart disease. After giving patients a careful evaluation, Dr. Grayboys often recommends against an angiogram and instead proceeds directly to drugs to treat blocked arteries. In tomorrow's journal, he reports on a series of 168 patients who came for a second opinion after being scheduled for angiograms by other doctors. 80% avoided an angiogram, and a 4-year follow-up has shown a low annual death rate of only 1.1%.
So if they hadn't come to us, they would have gone ahead and had the procedure, and invariably would have gone ahead and had either a bypass or a balloon angioplasty.
Dr. Grayboys is outspoken about heart specialists who too quickly turn to sometimes risky procedures instead of medication.
We've overtrained physicians in these subspecialties, in cardiac surgery and angioplasty, and we really have to get back to the basics of taking care of patients, which is really sitting down and caring for them.
Dr. Grayboys is quick to point out that many sicker patients do need angiograms and treatment procedures. But his report also makes clear that many other patients with less severe disease can do just fine without extensive and expensive testing. Dr. Timothy Johnson, ABC News.
There is a new report from the Census Bureau today on the graying of America. Americans are living longer than ever before. Men with a life expectancy of 72, women 77. It is no surprise then that older women are more likely to live alone. And as the baby boom generation gets older, a grandparent boom is developing. Here's ABC's Bill Greenwood.
Most of the senior citizens at this center in Atlanta are women, like 79-year-old Elizabeth Roguemore, a widow who lives alone.
Yes, I have a granddaughter that lives in Marietta and a grandson in Woodstock, Georgia, that will care for me.
Census researchers say the increasing lifespan means changes in American families. More children are now getting to know their grandparents. And as baby boomers begin to turn gray, more children will get to know their great-grandparents, too. But that also means more elderly people will need to be taken care of, sometimes by children who themselves will be in their 60s. Bill Greenwood, ABC News, Washington.
Some of the economic news: prices at the wholesale level rose just 0.1% last month, a sign that inflation remains pretty much under control. Higher food and energy prices were offset by the biggest drop in new car prices since 1990. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost more than 15 points to close at 32.25, and the trading was heavy. In New York today, 3 days after he was arrested, the state's chief judge, Saul Wachtler, has resigned. Judge Wachtler has been charged with trying to extort money from a woman who allegedly broke off an affair with him. In court today, a federal judge ordered him to stay at home all the time. He must wear an electronic bracelet that enables police to monitor his movements. The U.S. Navy has agreed to reinstate the gay sailor Keith Meinhold, at least for the moment. Meinhold was discharged from the service last summer after announcing that he is a homosexual. A federal judge in Los Angeles had ordered the Navy to reinstate him at least until the matter is settled in court. Today, the Navy has agreed to comply. The actor Chuck Connors died today of lung cancer. Some of us remember him best as the fast-shooting Lucas McCain in the popular television series The Rifleman back in the late 50s. That was after his career as a baseball player with the New York Yankees, the Brooklyn Dodgers, and the Chicago Cubs. He was 71. In a moment, exclusive interviews with the survivors of prison camps in Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Things you never heard about a Bran cereal before.
Wow.
If you've never heard this about a Bran cereal, try Kellogg's Frosted Bran. It's different. It's lightly frosted, and it's crunchy, so it tastes delicious. Kellogg's Frosted Bran. It sure doesn't sound like Bran. Oh, one more thing you never heard.
You know, that's Bran you're eating. I know, it's great.
Another Meineke profile of the smart and thrifty. There he is! He's not a celebrity, he's not a millionaire, but he knows how to enjoy life. And how did he get to this serene setting, casting his fate to the wind this weekend? It's no secret, he saved his pennies. He went without lunch a few times.
And I didn't pay a lot for a muffler at Meineke.
Oh! Come to Meineke Discount Mufflers, the muffler and brake specialist, where you'll get more life out of your car and more miles for your dollar. At Meineke, you're not going to pay a lot for a muffler.
When the O'Connors, a doctor's family, catch a cold, the doctor recommends Dimetapp. Now Dimetapp, the brand recommended by doctors over 200 million times, introduces powerful relief for sinus pain and pressure. New Dimetapp Sinus. Its non-drowsy formula contains the pain reliever ibuprofen and a proven decongestant to relieve sinus pain and pressure. For cold and sinus medicine you can trust. Remember, doctors recommend Dimetapp for their families and yours.
Overseas in London today, the Russian President Boris Yeltsin spoke to the British Parliament, but it was his enemies at home he was addressing. Mr. Yeltsin said that his right-wing opponents may be planning a coup against him, but that he is prepared, as he put it, to cut them down. He hinted that if he thought it was necessary, he would impose emergency rule. Our report out of Bosnia-Herzegovina tonight is from eyewitnesses to horror in the civil war there. For many months now, we've been hearing reports of atrocities. Many of them, but not all, committed by Serbians against Bosnian Muslims. ABC's Dave Marish has just finished a reporting tour of the region, trying to verify some of the stories we have heard. Those we document tonight are confirmed by multiple sources.
The pictures brought back from the Ternopilje prison camp in northern Bosnia in August communicated much of the horror of the place, but neither they nor the men held prisoner there could tell anything like the whole story.
We heard stories of people being beaten and people disappearing. Did that happen?
Well, I can't say much about that.
The camp's Muslim doctor, questioned by journalists in his makeshift clinic, was a perfect picture of a man terrorized.
Did you get any cases here of people who've been beaten?
I just shrugged and said nothing. Of course, one was not allowed to speak.
Today, Dr. Idris is a refugee at a UN-supervised camp in the neighboring Republic of Croatia, free to speak the truth about Ternopilje.
In the camp, a number of people died from beatings. Some died because we weren't allowed to transport them to hospitals.
Women, says a former Ternopilje prisoner, were taken out of the camp and raped.
They would just come in and choose the women they liked. Some of them returned in a day or two. Some never came back again.
Among the Ternopilje prisoners was this man, moved there just days before from another camp, Karaterm, where he had witnessed a terrible massacre.
Stop. Stop. That's it. There.
That's room 3.
Sami is one of 6 eyewitnesses who talked to ABC News about what happened in Karaterm's room 3. 300 Muslim prisoners had been kept there without food or water for 3 days. When the prisoners demanded water, Serb guards attacked them.
I was lying in room number 2 next to the door, and I watched them line up the machine guns.
Inside room 3 were Ibrahim and Ahmed, who survived round after round of machine gun fire.
I saw blood everywhere. People lying on the ground and very few of us on our feet.
When I woke up, I noticed the sweatpants I was wearing were all wet, and I thought it was water because I didn't know what had happened. Another man slapped me a few times to bring me around, and then I became aware of the situation, and the man told me, "Your brother is dead. He's lying near the door." That's when I realized my sweatpants were wet with blood, not water.
Witnesses put the death toll as high as 200 in the Karaterm slaughter. With horrors like that behind them, the Muslim men were ready to run many risks to get out of the camp, including a convoy through dangerous territory. For some of the refugees, though, the worst danger was the convoy itself. 6 witnesses told us how Serb officers ordered the 2 busloads of men who thought they were being released to stop near a deep ravine. One man would only describe what happened to our artist, while a second survivor narrated the killings. Selected men, both said, were ordered to leave the buses and line up.
They told us to cross the road and to stop at the edge of a cliff. We were told to kneel down and to keep our heads down. We were in 2 lines, and when I heard the shots, I pushed the man in front of me and jumped over the cliff.
After sliding to the bottom of the gorge, Bakhria looked up.
I saw them dropping hand grenades and shooting down the hill at the dead bodies. Then I looked up and saw the people from the bus ahead of ours. They were being killed 3 by 3.
Police in the provincial capital Banja Luka have gathered bullets and other evidence from the ravine and admit that a mass killing did take place there. In addition to our 6 eyewitnesses, the American State Department and Amnesty International confirm the massacre in room 3 at Karaterm. Dave Marish, ABC News, Ternopolje, Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Dave Marish will have more on what he's heard in the detention camps later this evening on Nightline. We'll be back in just a moment.
Here's where Alka-Seltzer Plus fights tough colds. With tough congestion. Tough aches. Tough sore throat.
This is why you need a tough medicine. Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. The leading cold pill only relieves congestion, but Alka-Seltzer Plus relieves congestion, sore throat, headache, body aches. That's tough medicine.
You bet it's tough.
Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. It's tough medicine. For a cold with a cough, try Alka-Seltzer Plus cold and cough medicine.
Every day should start with Quaker Oats.
Oatmeal is back in the news. Doctors confirm again, if you're on a low-fat diet, oatmeal can help reduce your cholesterol. And oatmeal, of course, has no sodium. Also...
Now, there's some good news for you. Of course, I've known that for a long time. I learned it by making Quaker Oats part of my own diet. For my own good heart, my own good health, and just feeling good every day.
Every day should feel this good.
Rescue me! I'm shivering. Cold, rescue me! My furnace is too old. Can't you see that I'm freezing?
Help is on the way. Just call a Bryant dealer to the rescue and get the Plus 90i. It's the most energy-efficient gas furnace you can buy, and only your Bryant dealer has it. So call Bryant to the rescue.
Come on, Bryant, and rescue me!
With trusting eyes, the children show minds open, hearts true. Our spirits grow. The touch, the feel, the fabric of our lives. The touch, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives.
We have put the question of recycled trash on the American agenda tonight because, having had it practically drilled into us for several years now, the nation faces the prospect that recycling is not an end in itself. In Washington today, an environmental group released a study showing that more than half of all the newspapers in America were collected for recycling last year. But only 15% of the paper was actually used again. So how to make sure that recycled trash does not go to waste? Our agenda reporter is Barry Seraphin.
Communities across the country have taken to recycling enthusiastically. 3 years ago, there were 600 curbside collection programs. Now, there are more than 4,000. But the market for reusable trash has not kept up with the flood of materials, and much of what is collected never actually gets recycled. In Philadelphia, for example, plastic has made up 40% of the volume of waste picked up by recycling trucks. But yesterday, the city stopped collecting plastic, saying no one wants to buy it.
Without markets, you don't have recycling. Markets are key to making recycling work.
In Wayne Township, New Jersey, the slogan is "Recycling pays." But nowadays, it is the community that is paying to have recyclable materials hauled away.
There's really become a glut in the market. Example is paper. We used to get paid $25 a ton to recycle our paper. We're now paying $25 a ton.
The recycling program in Seattle is so aggressive that there are lessons for immigrants who do not speak English. But even here, there are problems. Old newspapers, for example, which once sold for $80 a ton, now sell for half that much. Most of the other waste paper is shipped to Asia because there are so few domestic mills to recycle it. A mountain of broken glass has grown up because recyclers will not take mixed colors. But officials who have worked to make Seattle's recycling program the most successful in the country are determined to keep it that way. To match supply with demand, they are out to create a new market for recycled products, the city itself. A few months ago, the city announced that it would pay extra, as much as 10% more, to anyone who provided items made of recycled materials. Everything from office paper to plastic signs. Some of that unwanted broken glass will be used for drainage projects and mixed with stone to form a base layer under highway asphalt.
It really helps eliminate the gluts, it helps stimulate the market, and eventually bring down the price of the recycled materials.
Some state governments are also trying to boost demand. 10 states now require newspapers to use recycled paper. A dozen have ordered state agencies to buy recycled office paper. Federal agencies are beginning to buy recycled products. A government trade fair in Washington last summer was designed to encourage that. But environmentalists say the government needs to provide more incentives.
We have no federal regulations designed to make recycling coherent or profitable.
Many experts say federal subsidies and tax breaks actually hurt recycling by making raw materials for paper and plastic cheaper to use.
There needs to be some of the same kinds of situations for recycling. Investment tax credits, low-interest loan guarantees to manufacturers who want to get involved in this area.
Some of the biggest and best-known companies in America are not waiting for government action. 25 major corporations recently vowed to use their considerable economic clout to boost demand for recycled products. Anheuser-Busch, for example, is now spending more than $2 billion a year for packaging materials with recycled content. All of the 17 billion cans that the brewery uses annually are made of recycled aluminum. Near Seattle, McDonald's is building a prototype for future restaurants. More than half of it will contain recycled materials, everything from the roof to beams to benches to ceiling tile. Corporate efforts will help, but unless more companies, the government, and consumers demand recycled products, paper and plastic and glass will in many cases remain just piles of waste. Barry Seraphin, ABC News, Seattle.
On the agenda tomorrow, 250 workers who lost their jobs when their company left town. So they began all over again. In a moment, what a way to make a living.
Coffee's right there.
Taster's choice.
Hi.
Do you want the lady of the house?
Well,
She's getting changed. Do you want some coffee?
savor the sophisticated taste of Taster's Choice.
Who was at the door?
A neighbor. I said you were in the bedroom.
And?
Great coffee.
1 a.m., still awake. You've got the night flu. Theraflu introduces new Maximum Strength Nighttime, the strongest hot liquid formula ever made. New Maximum Strength Nighttime from Theraflu. Maximum flu relief so you can sleep.
a late-night snack, and no bag keeps it fresher than Ziploc brand storage bags with the gripper zipper. Tough, tiny teeth you can feel gripping, so you know freshness is locked in.
Honey.
Caught red-handed. There's only one Ziploc.
Ask your doctor how to relieve acid indigestion, and he'll probably recommend a liquid antacid. Well, now there's a liquid you can carry in your pocket. It's Tempo. Soft, chewy Tempo tablets with the liquid antacid ingredients doctors recommend. On contact with stomach acid, Tempo gives you the speed of liquids to quickly soothe uncomfortable gas and upset stomach. Tempo relieves indigestion fast with the liquid antacid ingredients doctors recommend.
Tonight on Nightline, the hidden horrors of Bosnia, accounts from survivors of ethnic cleansing. It's an atrocity in progress. Will the U.S. under Bill Clinton intervene? Tonight.
Finally from us this evening, career choices. We've all felt it at one time or another, that itch which says, I'm going to give this up, run away, and do something entirely different. Most of us do not take off in a hurry. ABC's John McKenzie has the story tonight of one man who does.
It's 4:30 and Sean Thomas is driving into work.
The world's largest artillery cannon in all of American circus history.
Thomas is a human cannonball. His job, getting shot out of a cannon twice a day, getting hurled through the air at 55 miles an hour.
3, 2, 1, fire!
Last year, Thomas was servicing swimming pools in southern Florida. Today, he's the star of the Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers Circus.
It's a thrill. It's the thrill of flying. It's an adrenaline rush for me. That's why I do it. I met a man in my hometown that used to do the cannon, and he taught me everything he knew about it.
Thomas follows the circus from city to city, one of only 6 human cannonballs employed in the country. The work offers plenty of free time. Performances take up only a few minutes a day, and the pay is almost $25,000 for 9 months of ups and downs.
No, there aren't many drawbacks to being a human cannonball except for the pain. You know, I've been doing this for a year straight now, and I'm a little sore.
Inside his mobile home, Thomas fears the work may actually be making him shorter. The daily pounding from the cannon is giving him flat feet.
I had a really nice arch, and now they're starting to flatten out a little bit from the pressure.
The human cannonball.
Inside the cannon, Thomas is actually in a steel capsule. A hydraulic ram slams it up the barrel. Cables stop the capsule. Thomas continues into flight. Today, he'll travel 110 feet.
4.
You have to think about holding your breath, keeping your legs straight, staying tight as a board. It's not for everybody. There's people that have tried it, and it just wasn't for them. You have to be a daredevil, you know, a thrill seeker.
Thomas doesn't know much about the career expectancy of human cannonballs. What he does know is that tomorrow is a new town and another shot at fame. John McKenzie, ABC News, Decatur, Alabama.
And that's our report on World News tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Nightline later. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Come on, let me show you what it's all about.
It's about surprises. Should they drop the bomb or keep it to themselves?
She's going to find out about it somehow. Wouldn't you rather it came from her mother? No, not really.
Then look who's dropping in for Hayden's All-Star Bachelor Roast. You guys are such good friends. It's an hour of surprises. Roseanne and Coach, Tuesday.
Wanna do plain Raisin Bran one better? Go nuts! Take the raisin and the almond nut and put them both together. Cover raisins with the almond nut and make it all taste better. Raisin Nut Bran. Nut-covered raisins, all it takes. Raisin Nut Bran. Plus almond chunks and crispy flakes for a hearty, nuttier taste than plain old Raisin Bran. Add the raisin and the almond nuts, you're gonna like it better. Why stop at raisins when you can go nuts? Try Raisin Nut Bran.
Come on, let me show you what it's all about.
It's about double Elvis when Jesse enters the twins in a contest.
Every mother's dream.
Full house. Yeah.